Joining me now on the line is Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He's a Fox News contributor and author of Why We Fight, Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies. Dr. Gorka, we're talking about this caravan first, and we're going to get to a few other topics. This is not some poor, huddled mass yearning to be free. These are cheap replacement laborers who will point blank tell you that they're coming here for jobs and to be reunited from their family because they were already kicked out once. What do you make of this caravan?
Well, I think in any other day and age, if almost 10,000 people were coming to our border illegally, we'd call that an invasion. So, we are a Judeo-Christian nation. We are charitable to those in need. But without borders, without sovereignty, the nation ceases to exist. This is a national security issue. When you hear the president of Guatemala say that he's just arrested 100 ISIS activists in his country, there's no way to know who's in this. It's not just a question of, these people being economic illegal migrants. There could be distinct national security threats to our nation when you find out that there are people from South Asia, from Bangladesh, from all kinds of non-Latin American, non-South American countries in the caravan. That this is clearly not about charity. It's about national security.
One question that I have, because you bring up national security, is why are we not forward deployed? Our military is all around the world. We're in the Middle East, we're in Asia Pacific, we're in Europe, we're messing in these other countries that arguably have less to do with us than our next door neighbor that is pumping in drugs that are getting our communities addicted. They're trafficking in humans across our borders, violating our sovereignty. I'm just not sure why we are not sending these trained people that might be abroad down into Mexico. And why is our military not down there helping them secure this border? Look, I'm not for the military-industrial complex at all. I'm a very anti-it. But if we are going to do it, I would much rather we use it to keep people from invading our country.
Why are you against our military?
Oh, I'm not against our military. I'm against the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, that's a kind of conspiracy theory phrase. I don't like that. Our military will be used for what it needs to do. It has been used to support civilian authorities for 200 years, whether it's earthquakes, hurricanes, rioting in the streets of L.A. It has a role to civilian authorities. Whether it's going to be used inside Mexico, that's a bilateral function between Mexico and between the United States. But the president's been very, very clear about this. He will use our military to make sure that the integrity of the United States is kept, inviolable. We have other authorities. We have ICE and CBP that have the day-to-day job of securing the border. But when we see something of this magnitude occurring, then they need to have backup, and they will have backup.
One thing that I look at this caravan, and there's all these theories, the timing of this, the elections are coming up when they get here, who does this benefit more, the left, the right, blah, blah, blah. But one thing, though, that I can only think that the left is looking at it is the fact that if Donald Trump should send the troops down there, then it doesn't matter if he sends 100, it doesn't matter if he sends 10,000. They're going to portray him as Donald Trump, the authoritarian Nazi who is sending down the military. But then if he doesn't send the troops, then maybe the GOP, the base, doesn't get to the polls. I feel like he's just stuck in this really horrible position on what to do.
Look, this is one of the reasons I wrote Why We Fight. We have clarity now. We have a commander-in-chief who loves this country and will do whatever it takes to protect the citizens within it. So I don't think it's not up to the GOP whether the president deploys the military. He said he will do so. And what people have missed, or even through the presidential campaign, let alone the 45th presidency, they miss the key philosophical underpinning of all the key policy actions the president has taken, whether it's crushing ISIS, whether it's the tariffs, whether it's the border, whether it's agenda, the MAGA agenda, is national sovereignty. And for those out there, for the snowflakes out there who don't understand what the president is doing, look up the word nationalism in the Webster's Dictionary. He proudly stated 2 days ago that he is a nationalist. The definition, the dictionary definition of nationalist is those who are devoted to and loyal to their country. If you have a problem with that, then you are the problem.
Yeah, that moment was so pivotal, I think, and I was so excited to hear him say that, Gorka. But I want to switch gears while I still have you and talk about this string of suspicious packages that were sent to Democratic leaders, former public servants. We saw the media. We saw how quickly and how predictably they turned this on Donald Trump. I mean, you would think that Donald Trump literally sent these packages himself by some of the rhetoric that we're hearing being spewed from the left in the mainstream media. I'm curious what your thoughts are on how the president responded to this. You've seen him handle many difficult situations in your time with him. How do you think he's been navigating this?
No, I think he's done exactly what had to be done. He denounced it. He denounced any use of violence in the political arena. I would just like to have seen the media be so outraged as they were yesterday when ricin toxin was mailed to the Trump Secretary of Defense, General Mattis. I'd like to see an equivalent amount of outrage when a Bernie Sanders volunteer called James Hodgkinson goes to a baseball field very close to where I am right now with a rifle and a handgun and a hit list of all the Republican congressmen he wants to assassinate prior to almost killing Steve Scalise. So, yeah, it's always about narrative. It's never about the truth. These individuals aren't journalists. They're activists. They're hacks, and they have a political agenda.
It's very frustrating. I know in the last night's night show, we had a guest on, or Rebecca and Joel had a guest on, that essentially walked off the set of CNN. He was there to talk about the bombing or the pipe bombs, even though none of them have exploded. But they turned it into such a political conversation so quickly that he felt that they were wasting airtime. I mean, instead of focusing on the investigation, focusing on getting information to the FBI, or from the FBI out to the public, getting visuals out there. They were sitting there just bickering about how Donald Trump caused this.
It's exactly the same as the Khashoggi story.
Exactly.
The
yes.
media couldn't care less about a Saudi national murdered on the soil of a consulate in Turkey. They couldn't care less. The only reason they care is they want to use it as a cudgel to hit the president over the head with in terms of attacking his rhetoric on fake news. And they are fake news. I mean, even in the reporting on Khashoggi's murder, they call a man who was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, close friends of Osama bin Laden. They call that person a champion of democracy and freedom. That they have no right to call themselves journalists. It's the same with these stories. These incidents are just a tool to attack the duly elected president of the United States. They don't care about the truth. It's the same with Kavanaugh. It's the same with the Russia collusion delusion. Every single thing they write is first put through a matrix, and they have to tick the boxes. Does this hurt the president? If it does, we're going to run with it.
Sebastian Gorka, always a pleasure to have you. Folks, Sebastian is a Fox News contributor, and he's also the author of the new book, Why We Fight: Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies. You can also follow him on Twitter at Seb Gorka.